So this video will be about troubleshooting the lookup service configuration and the vCenter service integration. So when we want to use NSX together with the vSphere environment, we need to integrate it with the vCenter server, right? And we also need to configure the lookup service. So that's done here in the NSX manager, and there's a button here, Manage vCenter Registration. And if you've done this, we've done this before in another movie, we see that I'm connected right now here and I'm connected right now here. This is for the lookup service and this is for the vCenter server integration. You can see here that the lookup service uses a port 7444 and the vCenter server uses port 443 in order to connect to the vCenter server. There are only a few things that can go wrong here. And that you can troubleshoot. So one of them is that the SSO part is not configured on the vCenter server. So when we go to the vCenter server appliance, we can see a part SSO here. Well, you can see it in the summary as well. What I just had here is configure SSO here. You can see what's going on with the SSO here, and it's embedded. If it's not configured here, you can start configuring it here. Well, the deployment type is embedded. You can test it, so you can type in a password here, retype the password. You can use another account. If you configure this, it will create a default account, which is the administrator at vsphere.local. That's this one here, administrator at vsphere.local account. So you can assign a password to that and then save it, and then it will start configuring the whole SSO and part here. Once that's done, you need to restart the service, and I think I already showed this in one of my previous videos before, when we integrated the NSX manager with the vCenter server. But that could be one of the problems, that the SSO service is not configured here. Okay, so another problem can be that when you start integrating the lookup service or the vCenter server, that your account that you're using is not part of the administrators group. Well, it's always best practice to use just this account here, administrator at vsphere.local, because you're sure that that's one of the administrators and that's the account that always works. You can also create another account with the same rights, of course, but well, that could be a problem that you have that you're using an account with the wrong rights or with not the correct rights. So that's one of the problems. Another problem could be that there is a problem in the DNS lookup. So right now you're seeing that I'm using an IP address here in order for the integration here as well, but you could also use a domain name. Well, if that domain name doesn't resolve, then you have a problem, of course, because it cannot reach. So you have to look for if the DNS record is correct. Well, you can do a ping test based on that DNS name that you type in here, and if that ping it cannot reach or whatever, it doesn't resolve to the correct IP address, then of course there's your problem. And yeah, the DNS record necessarily doesn't need to be faulty, of course. The DNS server, of course, can also be wrong. If you don't type in the correct DNS server that has the DNS record, then you need to change the DNS server. Another problem can be that there's a firewall in between, so a firewall between the NSX manager and the vCenter server that's blocking port 7444 or blocking port 443. That way you can also not reach the vCenter server, and the integration will not go well. One last problem that I experienced before is that once you start integrating, then you could get an error, and one of the causes could be that NTP is not configured or that time is not in sync, and you need to configure NTP in order to get the time in sync. Well, you can change the time zone here, and as you can see here, I'm using Google's NTP server. And well, the same I've done with the vCenter server. If you go to and then you had time. As you can see, this is another vCenter server appliance here, so I don't think I've configured it on this, but you need to configure it. And you need to, oh yeah, it's configured here. Yeah, so you see that my time1.google.com is here as well. So you can do a few tests when you go to your manager. So let's go to the console of the manager, NSX manager. Then you can do a command where you can view the time, and well, the command is very easy. Let's also fire up. So you have. I need to log in here. I did that a little bit too fast. Yeah, so you have show clock. Oh, that's something else. Show clock. So if you, yeah, you can see the time here. The time is okay, and the same you can do when you're logging into your vCenter server. So let's go to the vCenter server. Okay, well here you can do a show, what was the day, show clock, no, it was a very funny command. It's just date, I guess. Yeah, that's it, date, so you can see the time here as well. If you compare that to this one here, 18:38:31, 18:38:34, you can see those are like identical to each other. So that's one of the problems that could be, that the NTP is unconfigured, so the clock's not in sync, so the integration won't work.